What's up, guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about why so many INFJs are prone to comparison. And you might say, well, aren't INFJs like the unique snowflake? Why would they ever want to compare themselves? That's not how I am. But trust me, just because you don't want to be like others doesn't mean that you're not focused on how others are doing, that you're not being the observer in that situation. Some get angry, others get jealous, whatever it is, every single time we focus on what others are doing instead of on ourselves, we're not experiencing life to the fullest. And it's not about forcing yourself and telling yourself, oh, I shouldn't be focused on what others are doing. We all know that. The point where we want to get to is that we don't even care what others are doing. We want to be focusing on our life because our life is the most interesting thing going on. And today we're going to tackle exactly this. I'm going to show you a couple little tweaks you can take in order to change that perspective inside of your mind. Before we get started though, I want to remind you that I'm discontinuing the INFJ Epic Life Masterclass by the end of January because I want to focus on bootcamp and on coaching. Therefore, this is your last chance and I have some special offer for you. All the information you find below. So first off, why are INFJs more prone to comparison than other types? It has a lot to do with our NIFE combination. So introvert intuition and extroverted feeling. It allows us to be impressionable. We all know there are two sides to this coin. This isn't all bad or all good, but if you look at what this can cause you, it will help you to actually understand others, to sort of feel like how they're feeling in that situation and to live through them. This is something you've heard probably so many INFJs talk about. I know I felt like this. I've talked to so many INFJs who go through this. This isn't something that only happens to a couple of INFJs. It happens to all of us. So how are we going to use that knowledge to our advantage? Because in the end, this doesn't have to be a bad thing, but we have to be aware that this is what's going on. So if you're still telling yourself, I'm the observer type, ask yourself, are you happy with that role? Is that role really satisfying you? And if the answer is yes, I'm totally fine. I couldn't imagine my life being any better. I couldn't imagine feeling more fulfilled. Go ahead, live that life. But for most of us, that is not the case. We feel that something is missing, but we're not willing to pay the price for it because the price actually means stop being the observer and stop being the creator of your own life. And doing this will take a big mindset shift that we have to be able and willing to take. Trust me, this isn't easy, but INFJs are mentally very strong. This is a quality we have to tap into because in the end, if you want to live that INFJ epic life, you have to do things that others don't want to do or aren't able to do. So just because it takes a lot of mental strength, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take it because different than so many other types, you have the capacity for it. That's how you can benefit from your INFJ-ness. But how do you start this process? Because I remember when I was still living in that mode, it didn't feel like there was any kind of alternative to it. That is life. That is who I am, and I just have to accept it. But I also remember that I saw people around me really enjoying life. I saw my friends taking pictures of nature and loving the process. And there was me just thinking about, okay, this is happening outside of me. If I would be doing it, I wouldn't feel anything. It's just like I'm doing this, so maybe other people could recognize it or see it, and then through that, some kind of emotion might come up. But it wasn't that I would be intrinsically happy about it. And this goes to so many things. And that is the main reason why so many INFJs stay stuck. Because they don't feel it. They don't feel the progress. They don't feel that they're making anything happen in a way that satisfies them. And that's why we continuously go back to comparison mode. And that's why those emotions come up. So ask yourself, when was the last time maybe you were jealous of somebody because they were experiencing something fun? Or maybe you were angry at others because they are having things and they're asking for things and they're just going for it when you feel like, okay, I actually should deserve this more. Every single time you get in any of those emotional states, it's because we're waiting for something external to give us the right to live our best life. And that's just not going to happen. That's not how our mind works. That's not how the world works. So how do you change that? How do you change from being somebody who constantly compares your life to others and maybe on the one hand thinks, okay, I'm not fast enough, I'm not strong enough, or you might even think I'm so much better than that person and still it's not happening for me. You do that by first off recognizing that this is what's happening. Are you in a position where you feel like your life, the way you live it, isn't bringing you any joy? If that is the case, then we have to change something about it. We have to rewire our INFJ minds in order to feel excited about the next step we can take in our life. And this will take time. Trust me, this is not something you can do overnight, but it's a commitment that you can do for life. And in the beginning, it's really tough because the commitment that you have to do is actually to your extroverted sensing. And every single INFJ I've talked to doesn't want to take that commitment. I know that for a fact because I didn't want to make that commitment. I remember thinking having to be in an SE mode all the time, or at least on a consistent basis, was not a possibility I was thinking I could take. That would suck. That would mean that all my life I couldn't relax. I would have to be the active one. But the truth is that if you dare to tap into SE and you say, this is something that I'm going to commit to and I'm going to put effort into it every single day, then first off, it's going to get easier over time. And second of all, you will exude that much less energy than this other option where you consistently say, I'm going to stay away from SE. The only way I live my life is living it as an observer. That thing will cost you way more energy. Yes, you may not be exuding that much energy, but you're also not getting anything in. And continuously you feel like something is missing. And trust me, comparison is the main ingredient here. We actually do the comparison thing in order to feel something, in order to experience life. And the moment we learn how to tap into our own life, to feel connected to it, because that's what it's all about. In the end, if you think about it, if you would just work harder at your career, work out, meet friends, and you would say, okay, I just have to do those 5 steps and I would be excited, we all would do it. The reason why we don't do it is because we've tried it. We've tried being friends with the people at work. We tried doing the things that others are doing. And every single time we recognize this doesn't bring me any satisfaction. This doesn't bring me any joy. I still feel like I'm an observer and I still feel like I'm doing this just because this is what you're supposed to do, not because it intrinsically makes you happy. And then as a consequence, we go into comparison. That's how we experience life. So in order to become a person who's intrinsically satisfied with working on their own life, you have to rewire your mind to feel progress, to feel like something is happening, to feel like you're moving things forward. And this will only happen through action. And see, so many INFJs, and I also see this with clients I work with, and I was also the same way. So many INFJs believe that the way to go through these motions is to contemplate on them, to think them through, to change our mindset by sitting there, meditating, reanalyzing, and letting things go. But in actuality, it's the other way around. It never works that you say, I'm going to think it differently, and then the actions will follow. When you put habits first, when you put actions first, your mindset changes. You start getting excited about it. And in the end, why would you stop looking at other people's lives if they're more interesting? I wouldn't. I know if I'm like at home and there's nothing interesting going on, I either watch Netflix or I watch somebody living their life. I get excited, I get mad, I get jealous, all those emotions that we know are so human. The reason why we do this is because what's really going on in our life at that moment, which is you sitting on that couch by yourself, isn't exciting enough. The more exciting your life becomes. And I'm not talking about if other people consider your life exciting. I'm talking about that you personally feel like you're becoming your next best self, that you personally feel like you're growing, that you personally are feeling like you're tapping into your potential. Once you do that, you're that much more likely not to go into the comparison mode. So don't aim to stop comparing yourselves. Rather focus on making this life better, on making your own grass greener, and then you're just not going to look at what your neighbor's grass is looking like. So how do you do that? How do you start? Well, since we all know that the first step is awareness and then the second one is taking action, the third step we have to consider is that it has to be something that we commit for the long run. So it can't be something where you say, if I start doing this, I know I couldn't keep up with this for the rest of my life. A good example for not doing it the right way is to say, I want to lose weight now, I want to get fit, so I'm going to start working out 5 times a week. I'm going to follow this really strict diet, and to do this while last week and probably all the months before you haven't done anything. This won't last because you're relying on willpower. And that willpower and the actions through that willpower are not connected to the exciting part of becoming more of who you want to be. You will feel fulfilled if you get to a point where you, for example, if you want to work out and get more in shape, if you get to a point where this becomes first off your new normal, you feel like you could do this for the rest of your life, and you feel like it makes you more excited about life. The progress in itself is exciting. You're not looking at the end result. You're not doing it because one day you might feel great about your body. You're doing this because the process of stepping into it, the process of working on yourself and becoming a better version in any kind of capacity. I know that we INFJs are not that much about like physical things, but this corresponds to absolutely everything: your career, your relationships, your vocation, all of those things. You have to aim for this to be your new normal. It has to be part of who you are, and it's not going to happen if you do it based on willpower. So remember how I said that we have to tap into our SE and to make it permanent. The only way we can do this is to admit to ourselves that our SE isn't as strong as we always think. We think in the back of our mind, if we wanted to, we could push through. It's just not worth it. That's something that so many INFJs think, but that's not the case. Our SE is limited. We value it, it's there, we can get better at it, but it still isn't something that is extremely strong. But it doesn't have to be. All we have to do is to push it forward every single day, or as often as we can think of, in a way where it doesn't overwhelm us. Remember, we want to get out of our comfort zone, but not to a point where it overwhelms us, for example, like through putting that much willpower into it that after 1 week we're completely off grid. So take the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life, for example. It's physical energy management, relationship management, wealth management, vocation, and priority management. And make it a point that you put in action every single week, that there's something where you push yourself to do something you haven't done before. And it's still at some point where you can handle it, where you feel like, if I had to do this forever, I could. For example, with physical energy management, we all know this is important because we need that energy in order to do something out of the ordinary. We need the energy in order to be able to build our own life. And we also know that we need good sleep for it. So if you're somebody who sleeps 5 to 6 hours a night, the goal is to go for 6.5 hours, not for 8. That jump is too big. It will take too much willpower because your mind hasn't adjusted to that yet. It feels like you're giving up too much. It's a discipline that we cannot handle. And every single time our mind connects it to something negative, as in, I should be doing 8 hours and I know this is the right thing, and you always feel like this constant battle in yourself, it will make you focused on what you're lacking, it will make you focused on what you don't like, and it won't work. But if you get excited about being able to push it to 6.5 hours, and that aspect in itself makes you excited because you have learned to master your mind. In the end, it's all about mastering your mind. Mastering your mind that you can make it your new normal that you sleep 6.5 hours. Make it your new normal that you meet a friend a week. Make it your new normal that you say, I deserve more at my career and I'm going to aim for it. That's the steps we have to take, and it's an exponential curve because you don't need to have the strongest SE to create an amazing life. You just have to be consistent with it. And trust me, every single time you put action before mindset and you allow your mindset to adapt to that, which in itself is something that us INFJs are so good at. Remember, if you put in a new situation, your mind will adjust to that new environment. So if you change your behavior, your mind is really really good to making this your new normal. So allow your mind to use its INFJ qualities to bring you to the next level of your life. And you'll see the more exciting your life gets, the more fulfilled you feel about growing into it, the less you're gonna care about what's going on left and right. I really hope that helped you. Remember, if you want to take the next step, then check out the INFJ Epic Life Masterclass. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video on INFJ success habits. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.